Hey guys. Sorry for the late sorry for the late start, everyone, but we are here. We are live. I want to send a shout out to, what was it? Bad Romance. Unfortunately,
no, it was called
they had,
Bad. It was called Bad Animals. We're having an issue. It's not coming through.
Yeah, we're having
not the good night. All right, Kandi, I gotta fix it. Go ahead.
We want to give a shout out to them. Unfortunately, they were not able to make it tonight, and so we didn't want to cancel the show twice back to back. And so I called upon a really good friend of mine and his beautiful sidekick sitting right to his left. We're going to celebrate Halloween a little early tonight. I know it's 2.5 months away, but hell, every day is Halloween in my world and in your world too, Jay and Megan. So we want to welcome you guys to the show tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. Let's have some fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Starting out, okay, your roots, if anyone knows you real well, they know your roots are straight from Salem, Mass. And I know you guys just came back from a trip there. So why don't we hear a little bit about what went on?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, the intro story is simple enough. So Megan and I had to head out to Massachusetts for a wedding last weekend. Some college buddies of mine were getting married, and I was involved in the wedding. And so, of course, I'm not going to take Megan, not going to leave without her. So she was going to meet some of my extended family, going back to school and college and stuff like that. But, being that I was, I'm always down to go to Salem, and that Megan hadn't gone at the time, had never been. Even before the wedding, we had been casually making plans to go to Salem, whether it was for a day, a couple of days, however it was. And it just kind of hit me a while back. I was just kind of thinking about it, and I was just like, well, we already have to go to Massachusetts at this time. It's already a thing. And what about maybe just extending it as opposed to doing 2 trips, 4 flights, multiple hotels, yada, yada, yada. What about just extending the trip that we already have to make to Massachusetts and adding Salem into the equation? And so that's what we did. We tacked it on to the first part of our trip, and impromptu decided to also end our trip with it as well. So we'll go into the deets of that in a little bit, babe.
So that was your first time to Salem, Massachusetts, Megan. How was it for you?
I absolutely loved it. I did not want to come back home, honestly.
Everybody That's what happens when you go to your home away from home. You don't want to go back home.
Everybody there is just so much more friendlier than Baltimore.
Really?
A lot more friendlier.
Wow, that's so cool.
Like, you can walk into a store and they greet you very nicely. In Salem, you walk into a store in Baltimore and they're like, "Fuck you doing here?"
Really?
That's true. That's true.
They look at you right here in Baltimore when you walk into the store like, ugh, here we go.
Oh, no.
Salem was absolutely gorgeous. I love the Witch Museum. I love the Witch House. I just loved everything about it.
That's awesome. It's on my bucket list.
Definitely.
I need
all them people that are there. There's so many people, but it's still so quiet.
Oh, that's my kind of place. I love that.
It's not loud. You don't hear people saying golf and this and that. Everybody's just so friendly. Not even 2 minutes of me and him being out of the car.
Yeah.
This lady walks up and goes, "I love your guys' artwork."
See? That's amazing. I love that.
It was awesome. Yeah. Like, just parked the car, got out of the car, and this, just not to be stereotypical, but you just know how different people are. What most people would consider just the average reaction of an older lady seeing somebody like us. They, it's not uncommon for them to make a hard right. But I mean, we're not going to take offense to that. It's different strokes for different folks. But no, she was all about it. She was like, "Oh my God, you guys look so cool. I love your tattoos."
Everybody was just
Yeah, it was super awesome.
but very hot.
Yeah, it was a hot one
Now-
still up there, even in New
Oh,
England.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like 92.
So everybody that knows you, Jay, knows that you're a Ouija board fanatic.
Yes.
Now, I have to ask you, among the 30 some odd boards that you already have, did you add any more to your collection in Salem?
I did. There's actually a story that comes with this. So, my friend John is one of the higher ups in what's called the Talking Board Historical Society. It originated down here in Maryland because that's where Elijah Bond is buried, in Greenmount Cemetery of Baltimore, who is the guy who patented the Ouija board. A lot of people don't know this, but it is truth. Ouija boards are from Baltimore. That's where they were started at.
Yes.
You think a place like Salem or New Orleans or Transylvania would be like the places that those things actually got started. But no, the fact of the matter is they actually got started in Baltimore. So anyway, I've known John now for a few years, and he's a great guy. You know, he always treats me great whenever I come to his store, and he's a really, really great guy. And so anyway, what's up, babe?
Motley's staring at my feet.
Oh yeah, Motley likes to attack her feet, and he's kind of in like fighting mode.
Feet
But
attacking
I think he's all right. So we wanted to go. So I wanted to take her over to the Salem Witchboard Museum, which is the only real Ouija board museum in the country, and it's off of Essex Street in Salem. So we went to go see John, and it was funny because we popped in a couple of times, and the poor cashier, she was so great. She was like, "Oh my God, you just missed him. He went to the bank. Oh, you just missed him. He went to the store. Don't move. He is coming right back." So we just stayed and we hung out, and everything was fine. So he invited us back into the museum. He was like, "Hey guys, just come on back and skip over this line. Just come on in and hang with me for a little bit." So we were just making small talk. This was on Wednesday, which was our casual Salem day, before we checked into our hotel. Thursday was our big day, just from top to bottom. We were dressed to the nines, like we haven't Megan's done more than I have, but we photo dumped a little bit of our Salem exploits, but we haven't really dropped the bomb quite yet. But if you go to either one of our socials on Facebook, you can see that, yeah, we made sure that when we committed to the day, we committed to the day. But anyway, we were just talking about all things witchboard and Ouija boards, and I was having him tell Megan a couple of stories that I thought were really cool. And I was looking at his wall of like stuff he was selling. There were these small little Ouija boards, and I was like, "What's up with these?"
England.
Yeah, he's like, "So those are Ouija boards that came from England. They were sold for $1 in basically the equivalence of the dollar store of England."
Wow.
Oh shoot!
I don't know the name of the store, but it's just basically the UK's equivalence of Dollar General or the Dollar Tree or whatever.
They got
Right.
told
So cool.
Yeah, so they were selling them for $1, and then a newspaper article started getting run about this dollar store selling Ouija boards that they were deemed as satanic to, and were basically told not only to pull them, but to literally
To destroy
destroy them.
But you
So,
can't do a Ouija board.
John, so John got in contact with somebody, as John put it, that wasn't very good at their job, and got his hands on a few of those Ouija boards. And he was down to 2. And I picked one of them up because, again, that was just our casual day. And it was such a good story that I was like, even though I knew we were going to come right back the next day, I was like, that's a really good story. And I feel like if he tells that story to other people, they're going to be like, well, if these things cannot be found anymore, however, because, the destroying doesn't necessarily mean that they were thrown into a fire. They could have literally been buried in a giant ditch or something. But the point is they were destroyed. They don't exist.
They had to get rid of them.
And I was like, I need to get one of these now just in case. And the funny thing is, sure enough, we came back the next day. The one I left behind was gone, which is fine. And it was actually bought by somebody who was visiting from England.
Oh, shit. No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's camera. It's not going to probably be overly like, precise, but it's basically about that big. It's probably about the length of my face and only about this. It's small. I think it's in the main. I think it's in my main suitcase. She's going to try to pull it out. We haven't really unpacked. We only really unpacked small knickknacks like some of the jewelry that I bought and the stuff that the souvenirs that she bought for her girlfriend and her mom and her brother. But
that's an insane story, though.
But I'm pretty sure it's in that suitcase.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. You said that the Ouija board
was
supposedly... let's see it. Oh, look at that.
These were destroyed in England. And he even printed out some articles about it and let me keep one. So I've got a printout somewhere of the article. And you can see the little planchette there that comes inside.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of cool. It's a pretty common design. I mean, I've got boards that are similar looking, similar paint jobs and stuff like that. But I was just like, that's just too damn rad. So it looks like it was something involving a company or whatever called Creepy Town. But yeah, it's
my understanding that you can't destroy a Ouija board though. Or is it you can't throw them in the fire? Like how does that work?
Yeah, you oh, hey you.
Who's that?
That's Nyxx.
Nyxx.
Look at the kitty cat.
Oh, look at her.
Yeah, so that is true. That is true. But at the same time, there's always room for clarification when it comes to that, because let's be honest. Like there's pictures of oh yeah, dude, she got this insane book, and we're gonna get into that story a little bit later. Cool. But she found this book all about the Salem witch trials. But look at this War and Peace thing.
You gotta be kidding
it
me.
literally chronicles every day of the trials for the whole length of the witch trials. So it's not like somebody writing what they think about what their thoughts were or their research on the witch trials. It's a day by day from the courts, the people that were accused, how they were they found innocent, were they found guilty, were they condemned, if they were condemned, how were they killed, or were they sent to jail. It's pretty wacky. But yeah,
his great-grandfather was one of the last witches to be killed in Salem.
that is
Can
facts.
I ask about that? I saw the photo, I saw the caption. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I had no clue that was.
It's a pretty well kept secret in my family. So well kept that it only recently came to light in the last year. But real quick, so my closing thing on the Ouija board thing is like, look, let's be real about this. There's so many pictures of Ouija boards on like the internet. Like my background, my cover photos of my Facebook are various Ouija boards and stuff like that. You could easily print out a picture of a Ouija board, on like computer paper and toss it in a fireplace. Of course it's going to burn up. It's going to burn up. It's going to go away forever. And it's not going to rekindle itself. That is not tiny. That is not tiny at all. So Megan just unwrapped it, and what I thought was a small little thing is because it's folded up, and it's way bigger.
Holy shit, that's huge!
Wow, that's pretty neat.
Wow,
that's pretty rad. So thank you, John.
Wow, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
But yeah, so, geez,
the
planchette's
even huge.
Like, dude,
it's not me you're looking at.
No. Is it
Not
me you're
interested in
looking for?
at.
Actually, is that? Do you know where that is? See if that'll fit in the box with it. Anyway, yeah, you can print out a Ouija board, art on the internet, chuck it in a fireplace. It's gonna burn up. It's gonna stay away forever. Nice, yeah. And well, I mean, if you want, you can fold it like top to bottom or something, and it'll go in there. It was just something John literally printed out. So that's a misconception due to what I call no shitness. But when it comes to traditional real Ouija boards, yeah, they can't be destroyed. There is a certain amount of strength and power just in the board itself that you can't just get rid of it. If anybody, for example, was to backtrack to one of my early TMS episodes when my friend Michael Vampire was on the show, he was telling a story about a Ouija board he found hung on the wall of his brand new studio of his house of his apartment, and black mold grew in the walls and on the ceiling. And that's a real story. So yeah, there is misconceptions and misunderstandings when it comes to how they can and can't be destroyed and stuff like that. So anyway, to get back on the new point, so that came to light within the last year. My mom is My mom is amazingly hardcore at this ancestry research thing. She has it dialed in. She's been doing it for many years, probably at least a solid 15 years now, as far as really being committed to it, and has made insane discoveries of my family, my dad's side, her side, even stuff involving my late stepfather that goes all the way back to Lithuania, where he's from. She should have been a cop, man. She should have been a detective. Dude, it's insane. So anyway, I get an email from her last year about, hey, we've since made this discovery of Samuel Wardwell from 1692, Salem, Massachusetts, who was hung as the last person hung during the Salem witch trials. He is your ninth great grandfather. He goes directly, his lineage is directly to your great grandfather, Pop.
Holy shit.
Probably explains why you are so connected with Salem and won't let go of it. Why it matters that much more to you than it probably matters to other people, even people that still currently live there. So we walked around and did a lot more research on our big day, but we found his first memorial in just off the Salem Commons, just off of Essex Street. So basically, people are going to hear me say Essex Street a lot. Well, Megan and I are going to talk a lot about that. Essex Street is basically Salem's equivalent to Bourbon Street in New Orleans. It's the big, basically, it's the big stretch. I'm not talking about as far as the drinking thing, the big partying thing that people are going to associate with Mardi Gras. But Bourbon Street is that main known stretch of New Orleans where there's the shops, there's this, there's that, and it's just the big road. Our equivalent to that in Salem is called Essex Street. And so if you're going down Essex Street, it takes you to the Samantha statue, which is Elizabeth Montgomery from Bewitched. It's I love her. A statue dedicated in her name that you can take pictures next to and all that stuff.
That's so cool.
As you're walking down, it gives you the option to kind of break off. It's actually very close to where the Salem Witchboard Museum is. Yeah. But you walk down this little path, and then it's kind of a little right and then a little left, and it's where one of the main cemeteries is. And there's a arched walkway of memorials that are also seats. They're designed to be sat on. And they have the condemned's name how they were killed and the date that they were killed. And right when you walk in, the very first one on the right is Samuel. So we found it, we saw it, looked at
it. Went up my spine. Jeez, this is crazy.
Well, because at the time, I casually knew the name from back when my mom gave me the email, but she was going to give me all the info, and I didn't get the info from my mom. I knew she would give it to me. I think she just got tied up. So we were walking around, and the other one that we were really interested in that we took a bunch of pictures with, and Megan was really, really into checking that out, was Bridget Bishop, who was the very first person killed. She was the very first person killed, hung during the Salem witch trials. She has literally her own day. So, you know, she was killed on this day. She was the June 10th. 1690. You know, the only person who was killed that day. Everybody else was killed on other days. But she had, you know, it's not first day of the witch trials. It was Bridget. It was Mary. It was Joseph. It was Jesus.
Mary,
it's nothing like that.
Marytown Esty.
Mm-hmm.
She was accused of being a witch in September 22nd, 1692 is when she was killed. She was actually mentioned in the movie, if you remember, The Conjuring, Marytown Esty.
Yep.
Yes,
Oh,
I do remember that. Wow, that's insane.
They mentioned her. She was accused of being a witch, and she was hung September 22nd, 1692.
Mm-hmm.
She was hung a couple months after her sister, Rebecca Nurse, was hung. Her sister was 78 years old. Well, 71. Mary was only in her 50s.
Wow, that's insane. Oof. This is weird.
That is weird. Yeah. That is,
And the creepy thing about the whole incident, like, women couldn't do anything. If you argue with your neighbor, you were considered a witch.
Yep.
If you were a midwife, you were a witch. If you were unable to bear children, you were a witch. If you were unmarried, you were a witch. Like, you couldn't do anything.
Wow.
Women literally could not do anything without being accused.
Yeah. It was.
Okay, so this whole Salem witch trial thing, then how many people were executed? Just curious.
It was short. It was about
20 to 25 people.
It's about 20 to 25. Actually, yeah, babe, if you don't mind, it's on the table. It's on Hoodie Mountain, right under that rough cut is my bag that has that parchment that we found.
Right. Well, as we were dealing with the Salem witch trials,
mm-hmm.
York was doing the same thing to their women.
Yeah.
Burning them at the stake for the littlest things they did.
No. Hey, Lisa, just so you know, I got your tag. I was trying to share the video, but it's coming up with a message that says something like, we can't see. And I'm having a hard time finding the live video. Can you try to tag me in it and so I can share it?
Yeah,
So Lou, what you do is take the YouTube link, Lisa, post it, and then tag Jay in that post.
It won't let me do it on
Not
YouTube.
Even YouTube?
I can't
Everything's
share it.
in the same bag.
I can't share it. I had Tori to try to do it, and I tried to share it. I thought it shared, but it didn't.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the other things that was super cool, and I showed this to my mom, and she was like, "That's amazing," is so we went to the witch house, the main left official house from the witch trials. You can go in. It's like $7 to tour it, but they have this really cool gift shop, and it's just very, very cool. So much old original things. And we weren't really paying a ton of attention to things. We were just looking at the various goodies as we were getting ready to leave. And then I noticed this frame thing, and I looked at it closer. And I was like, oh, my God, that's amazing. And I looked at the cashier, and I'm like, is this a purchasable item? Because I was going to buy it right off the wall. She's like, oh, yeah. There's more of them right below it in that basket. There was one left. So I was like, yes, it's mine. Doesn't mean that there wasn't a cardboard box in storage that had more of them for other people who wanted to buy this item, but it's a parchment of all of the victims from Salem and the dates and how they were killed. Whoop.
There was only one person pressed to death.
And there was only one person pressed to death.
That was Corey.
That was Corey.
Whoa.
But then right there, it's Samuel Wardwell. That's Pop. It's right there. But yeah, pressed to death. Giles Corey, which basically means that they lie you down, they put a piece of wood on top of you, and they pile rocks on it
Boulders to rocks.
until you confess or die.
Oh no!
And he literally is quote. He was a very, very strong man.
He kept putting more weight.
He would not confess to what he did because he didn't do anything wrong. He kept saying more weight. And they kept putting more boulders on until it literally did crush him to death.
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
But it's pretty wild. So yeah, it's got
you know what? That's some really interesting history. Amazing. I never knew that. That is so cool.
That is. I never knew that either.
Yep, literally 20. Yeah, so 20 people were killed during the witch trials. 19 were hanged and 1 was pressed. And then there were other people who did die in jail, either awaiting trial because they weren't quite able to be convicted and various other things like that.
Right.
I have a question. So if they confessed, like if they're laying there and they're pressed and they confessed, then what would they get?
It could be anything from going to jail or being outwardly convicted and murdered. Like, can you imagine being pressed, basically tortured into a confession just to now be sentenced to death by hanging?
That's it. Yeah. It's like you're going to die either way. Yeah.
John Proctor, they told him, if you can recite the Lord's Prayer without messing up, we won't hang you. He said it word for word, and they still hanged him.
Yeah. The basic thing when it came to witches is that they cannot recite the Lord's Prayer without making a mistake.
And he didn't make a mistake.
He rattled it off, and they still convicted him.
He was able to save his wife, though. They were going to hang her, and she was with child.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
And the funny thing is, with Sam, his wife and children were convicted as well, but actually were released. Ended up being acquitted and released, which is very interesting to kind of think about, because that is actually what kept my heritage, my bloodline alive. Because he had a wife and kids at the time. They were all, arrested. And so that's kind of a crazy thing to think about, is the idea that, well, had they ended up convicting or chose to convict everyone, my family would be gone, or at least a good portion of my family. There's no guarantees that I wouldn't still be here, because this is fully from my mom's side. This is fully from my mom's side of the family, versus my dad's side of the family is Irish from the old country. That doesn't mean that I'm not technically going to be here, because my dad's family would have still made him, but it could be a whole different situation with who my dad married, how my family came to be, who's even in my family. Had they decided to kill everybody in Sam's bloodline.
Wow. It's amazing how things happen and the way they happen.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
I know.
Oh my God.
This is so freaking weird.
Like, for some reason, I have a connection to Bridget Bishop, the first woman to be hung during the trials, and I don't understand why. But for some reason, I'm very connected with her.
Wow.
I don't want to know why.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you feel a deep connection. There's all these
We went to the site where the hangings actually took place. It's called Proctor's Ledge.
Yep.
and it has each of their names and the day they died and year they died all on there. And it was just very emotional. Like looking at that area and seeing all their names, it actually brought tears to my eyes. Because they were all innocent when they got killed. They were literally convicted for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, and it was crazy because like I'd done the tours before, and done my own just research over the years and stuff like that. But we watched all that stuff together and did other tours and stuff together. And it was crazy also just listening to the stories being told to us again, just like Megan said, where you could just get in an argument with your neighbor.
And you would be a witch.
And you could be convicted and accused of being a witch, which did happen. They talked about it in one of the Salem Witch Museum, the main museum, did a fantastic there. Now it's easier to show off because I just put it in the little frame I got for it. So now it's a hell of a lot easier to show.
There you go. That's cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so like they were talking about how one of them, it literally was that
she argued with her neighbor who was a male.
It was something real. It was something like that made sense too.
Apparently he wanted to borrow a horse and she told him no. And he kept pressing her about it and she lost her temper. So they wind up burning her at the stake.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Because
God.
Just pester to just like a normal person, basically to the equivalent of her just being like, will you just fuck off? And because it's a different time, back then, and women didn't have those rights,
Wow.
Or nobody, of course, deserves
hearing
harassed in any way like that. But it's just facts of the times.
Hearing you guys tell that story, it kind of hits close to home for me, and we can talk about that off the air. But yeah, wow. The part about being pestered to the point where you're the crazy one.
Yeah.
I hate
and
that.
Another woman, she was in her 60s. She was considered a witch for being a midwife.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of children died because she was a midwife, and they blamed her. So they said that she was a witch. She was purposely killing these children because she was a witch, so she was sentenced to be burned at the stake.
You want to tell do you want to tell Kandi, Lisa, and their fans about about how the witch trials actually started?
Oh yeah,
it's a really interesting story.
How the witch trials even started was it came from literally slavery. A slave came over with the guy who owned her. Her name was Tituba. And all she did was tell the children who she was under, like the family she was under, stories about where she came from and stuff like that. They accused her of making these children practice witchcraft and everything, so she was placed in jail. She was going to be killed, but they changed her mind because she confessed to what she did. She's like, I didn't teach them anything, but I did tell them stories. So they eventually did release Tituba. So that's how the witch trial all started, because of this woman telling these white kids stories.
Just stories from her homeland.
Yep.
Nothing more, nothing less. Exactly what you would expect.
She was accused of teaching them
story,
witchcraft.
Yeah.
That's what birthed the witch trials. African stories.
Oof.
She did her time in jail, and they released her.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Just for telling a story. Wow.
Yeah.
Just for telling a story, she was arrested and prosecuted for teaching witchcraft to children.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I don't live back in those days.
I absolutely in the 1600s.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy with that. But yeah.
Now I really want to visit Salem. There's so much
Oh,
history.
it's awesome.
That's what
amazing.
I love about it, is the history,
The history that you learn about what happened and everything is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, my Instagram is where the majority of my photo dump is gonna go when I put up those pictures. So anybody who wants to see like the dominance amount of like my photos and stuff like that, just go to just a RNR junkie on Instagram, and you'll be able to see all of those. But you can also find me and Megan on Facebook, and we're tagged in each other's posts. So there's definitely stuff already up from like, you know, when we were going around Salem and when we were hunting down all the black thrones that we could find and taking pictures in them to decorate
Sweet.
the house with and stuff like that. Because we went to a couple of stores. Well, we went to a lot of stores.
We went to the
But we went to the Satanic Temple, which is there's satanic temples throughout the country, but there's a main one in Salem. So we went to that,
so
and
nice.
it's really, really cool. It's very, very
You get to sit
interesting.
on Baphomet's lap.
Yep, it's a huge, heavy bronze, just giant Baphomet statue that they encourage you not only to take pictures on, but you can sit on its lap, and that's super duper cool. And they got a gift shop with all kinds of fun things. I got a patch that I'm gonna add to my jacket, and some tea, and Megan got a T-shirt and a really bitchin' poster. And
Yeah, I got a
Nice.
green tea from the Satanic Temple, and it's called Lilith.
Ooh.
I'm excited to
so that
That
was
is
really
cool.
awesome. You know,
You guys
we
are
went to-
making a really compelling case. Now I really want to go visit Salem. Seriously.
Oh,
I'm telling you, it does sound really, really cool.
Hey, I might have a travel partner too. I was telling my mom about that, and she's like, "Oh, that'd be a cool place to visit." So,
well, from where you guys are, it really is a hop, skip, and a jump away. Like Toronto to Massachusetts is not that far. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. And you know, and just make it easy on yourself. Just set up a rental car and then just go. It's super easy to get there. It's literally 15 miles from the airport. It's just super duper great. But yeah, we went to all these other great stores, you know, ones that I was really partial to, but Megan was really into. What happened?
I freaking love you, Megan.
I didn't do it. I probably did. it. But I'm gonna see this later when I rewatch this too. But we went to the. See, I saw it. Got to remember, I am looking at a camera.
This is the first time.
You guys are silly.
Oh,
All right, so
I need that.
again, we are celebrating Halloween a little bit early tonight. I want to get some input from Megan here, some more input from Megan. Megan, when you were little and you go out trick-or-treating for the first time, what was the first costume you remember wearing?
I Dream a Genie.
Really? How
Yes.
old were you?
Love her.
I was, I think, 6 years old.
Oh, that's so cute.
Sweet.
Aw,
I was I Dream a Genie.
that's so cute. Jay, what
Do
were
you still
you?
have your pictures? That would be so cool to see.
My mom has those somewhere, and I hope I never see
I bet.
them.
I hear you.
Well, you
Aw.
got to tell your mom that you've got some people now who want to see those pictures.
Oh, she
Yeah,
would have
there
no
you go.
problem pulling them out. She'll be like, okay.
If you find one of those pictures and if you post it, I will find and post my first Halloween picture.
Oh my god.
My mom was Sylvester the cat, and I was Tweety Bird.
Oh.
Oh.
I don't remember what
No.
my mom was. I don't know if she was Sandy from Grease.
No way, that's so cool.
Hell, my mom loves Grease.
That's so
Me
neat.
too.
Jay, what were you?
I was a vampire.
You were a vampire.
Of course.
You are.
Of course.
I was a vampire like 5 years in a row. Like, dude, by the end of that, like last time, because I was like, dude, by the end of like my like 5th straight year as like a vampire, my mom had my makeup on lock, man. She knew exactly what to do, like how to execute it. But yeah, the ones that I definitely remember, I did I was a vampire like 5 years in a row. I did Ghostface from Scream at one point. I did
Huzzah!
I remember in college doing like kind of like a Reservoir Dogs thing because me and my brother were doing, sort of like a undercover cops kind of thing. So I sort of did this almost kind of punky version of Reservoir Dogs, where I kind of did this clash between the Quentin Tarantino Reservoir Dogs movie, and at the time, what was the Good Charlotte Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous music video, because that's what that music video was based off of.
Okay. Oh, very cool.
So I had my hair was short, but my bangs were long. So I had my bangs down to like here, and I had like gel in them to make them like really like spiky, like down in front of my face and stuff like that. Because I was doing a lot of like different little spiky things with my hair at the time.
Oh, very cool.
But yeah,
Megan,
so I did
Megan,
that.
you get out of this, but 2 years ago, I took my son to my mom's, and we did a Halloween thing there. So he dressed up as a witch, ironically. He dressed up as a witch. My mom dressed up as Lucille Ball.
Oh,
And this was me.
I gotta see that. Oh wow! Look at you.
Love it.
That's yes.
Yep. As a matter of fact, here he is.
Ah!
Ooh,
Dude, this is a legit like leather mask. This costs a pretty penny. But
I
I
wouldn't
love
be
it.
able to
Looks
breathe.
Lisa, what was your first costume that you remember?
Shoot, God, probably a witch. Yeah,
A witch.
because I love to be witched. I love to be witched back in the day, and I had the pointed hat. The old-fashioned witch. So I like it. Yeah, I was a witch.
Not like
Not
the green.
I was a witch.
I remember.
I'll get you, my pretties.
I'll get you, my little pretty, and your little dog too.
I remember too when I was pregnant. My son, he's going to be 12 in December, but when I was pregnant with him, we passed through, the Halloween season and whatnot, and I couldn't fit into any costumes, right? Because I was, Anyway, so I settled for pajamas. So I settled for pajamas and a house coat, and I went fuck it, and I grabbed a pillowcase and out I went with my stepdaughter and her friends. So I get to this one house, and the guy is looking me up and down. He goes, "Where are you supposed to be?" And I thought for a second. I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm not really dressed as anything." Okay. He goes, "What are you supposed to be? Seriously?" And I just said, "Lazy." So he took a couple handfuls of candy and dropped it in my pillowcase. I'm like,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, buddy.
But you did what I did. The best way to trick or treat is just take your pillowcase off your pillow and just walk around.
The pillowcase, man.
You got more candy that way.
Screw that little bucket.
That is true.
Get back home, constantly empty it. You had your pillowcase.
That's what I did. I went out with my pillowcase.
Yep.
That's what I did.
And
You
get
get
back
more candy.
home.
As a kid, that logic didn't set in, But yeah.
My dad taught me about that. He was like, "Stop with the little bucket. We're gonna take a pillowcase." I'm like, "Okay." I got a lot more candy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
That's it.
All right.
There was a haunted house as I was growing up. My dad told the guy, "Please don't come out with a chainsaw because my daughter's going to get scared." And so his friend, the dude didn't listen to my dad. And me and my friend took off down the street. My dad almost went to jail Halloween night because he almost punched the dude in the face.
No.
Shoot.
The dude
No.
purposely came out of the fence and chased after me and my friend. And we're only like 7 years old with a chainsaw.
Oh, fuck.
My dad almost went to jail that night.
Oh my god.
Oh my God, I can imagine. Oh.
All right. Here's another conversation to be had, and this can go in a bunch of different directions. Halloween season, there's horror movies. Lots of them. Let's talk about our favorite horror movies. Jay?
Halloween.
Halloween?
Halloween.
1978, right here.
That's the one. I was watching Friday the 13th last night.
It's
Wow.
Dr.
Halloween all the time here.
We got Dr. Loomis, Michael, Lori is right here, and then you got the pumpkin with the knife.
Funny enough,
Sweet.
Funny you mentioned that, and I was telling Lisa this yesterday. I had an afternoon nap yesterday, and I had a dream that I was being chased by Michael Myers. Michael Myers got so close to me, and I just killed him with kindness, and he ended up giving me a hug. And that was it.
That probably won't work with me. He'd probably kill me right on the spot. I would just be like, rip the clothes off. Take me, Michael. Sorry, man.
Dude,
Oh my God.
you want to follow it up with the Nick Castle story?
Oh, when I turned 30, one of my good friends bought me a cameo of Nick Castle wishing me a happy birthday. The original Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I literally stared at my phone and I couldn't help but wanting to scream. Because he said my name and everything. He's like, happy birthday, Megan. And he sung happy birthday to me.
He
Not
did.
that Nick Castle story.
Uh-oh.
You already told me what you're gonna do to the guy. You told me straight up. You're like, babe, you're just gonna have to deal. I'm like, you're good.
I'm gonna have him sign my ass sheet. Because I'm planning on, because I got this whole upper thigh to be tattooed. I'm gonna get the 1978 Halloween mask and his 2018 mask tattooed up this way. And I'm gonna just walk over to him, flash him my ass, say sign my ass cheeks, and then I'm gonna flash him my boobs. Like, hopefully I don't get kicked out. Here you go. I want to make sure I got Michael Myers pasties to wear.
Oh my God. Okay, I want someone to film that and to film Jay's reaction as it's happening.
There'll be no reaction. I know it's coming. Who do you think's gonna be the one doing the filming?
I just hope I don't get kicked out.
Not gonna get kicked out.
I love this.
Oh,
stuff.
that is funny as hell. Anyway, so favorite Halloween movies, horror movies. Jay,
Yes.
favorite Halloween movies.
Oh, dude, I can go all night on Halloween movies. So I'll
Let's just start with
oh yeah.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Well, Friday the 13th is always gonna be my go-to. Jason was just always my guy. I love the Terrifier series right now. I've been so invested. I mean, through 3 movies of Art the Clown so far. So like, because the average Terrifier fan isn't gonna know that his first appearance was in All Hallows Eve, which was sort of one of those like, oh, what the hell are they called?
I saw that one. Yep.
I forget exactly what the term is off the top of my head, but it's like Trick or Treat or like Creep Show. It's like mini movies in a movie. I just forget offhand what the actual terminology is for it. But I love the Terrifier series. I've always been a big Exorcist fan.
And they're making another one.
Yeah,
I got to see that.
Oh, I've been rolling my eyes at all the other previous attempts at Exorcist type movies, but I am kind of into this one. The build up, the fact that they've reached out to members of the original cast. So I'm into that. I do think that I feel like I'm going to leave this one feeling pretty good about the situation. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the new Beetlejuice movie. I think that's going to be great.
Yes. I can't wait for that. Yeah.
This is sad news. Robert Englund will no longer be playing Freddy.
That I heard about that. That is bad.
He said that he's just getting too old. It's taking longer to do the fight scenes, and he's just ready.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like in 76. He's like almost 80 years old. He said that it's just taking way too long. It's taking way too long to do the fight scenes, and his back's not like it used to be. He's like, I'm in pain.
Yeah.
But he will always be our Freddy Krueger.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
There's only one
I guess you got
There's only one Freddy, and it's Robert Englund.
Yep.
And that's him. Yep.
Wow, that is sad news.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
When he announced it, I was like, oh, really?
I was the
Yeah.
same. I was the same.
Yeah. We're also big Jaws people in this house.
Oh, cool.
And I remember seeing Jaws when I was like 8, and it scared the fuck out of me. I'm
That's the
not
movie.
kidding.
That's the movie that made me a horror fan, actually.
Show
Really?
me the way to go home.
So
I'm tired and I
want
want
to go to bed.
I had a little drink
Think
about an hour ago, and it right went to my head.
We watched that movie. We've watched that movie a lot. So
So, babe, you gotta cheers. Like, here's the swimming with bow-legged women.
here's to swimming with bow-legged women. So
Also I heard this story
Yeah.
a few times, actually.
yeah. Kandi's heard this story a few times in interviews that I've done. But I don't remember offhand if I've actually told this story on a Mistress Business episode. But
Are
the
we
funny
about
thing
the same thing?
is so back when I was a kid, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, is the is the fact here's the precursor to the story. And it's like that meme where the person's at the doctor's booth with a title and it says change my mind. It's basically like that. I will die on the hill for this argument because I know I'm right. No sleepovers will ever be as cool as they were when I was a kid, because without Blockbuster, sleepovers suck. They just don't work. They're just not cool.
Sleepovers?
You still had Blockbuster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Hollywood Video.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is like, if you're not in your 30s or older, like, you don't really get the benefit of being like super duper stoked. You might be able to squeak it out in your mid 20s. I mean, Megan's 24, but like, ow. But like,
Hey, wait, that's a compliment, isn't it?
thank you.
What?
So
I
like,
don't want to be that young now.
no, but anyway, like, yeah, but I'm up there in a few more calendar days. But anyway, it's true. I'm not gonna buy or believe or buy into anybody's bullshit about my sleepovers,
Yeah,
were
y'all have
awesome.
secrets.
No, they really weren't. Because the fact of the matter is, again, unlike now, where there's all these streaming services, there's cell phones, there's this, that, and the other thing. It was limited stuff as a kid to have a good time. You actually had to give a fuck about each other. You actually had to go to these places to have a good time.
Get your
So
favorite candy,
exactly.
get some popcorn, order some
Sleepovers
pizza.
had 3 basic criteria to it. You decided on the house the sleepover was going to be, and that was the parents that were going to chaperone it. They ordered pizza for everybody. That was your dinner every time, and you went to Blockbuster, and they always turned a blind eye to it. Under normal circumstances, they're going to be like, that's not appropriate for kids. That's not appropriate for kids. That's not appropriate for kids. No, overs, they turn a blind eye. They know you're going to go to horror. They know you're going to go to this, that, or the other thing. I went to a sleepover, later, where we literally got and watched Slumber Party Massacre, which was nothing but blood and boobs for the entire fucking movie. I learned everything I learned about women as a kid literally came from 80s slasher movies and 80s glam metal music videos, because it was kind of the same thing. Like, women just not wearing things. That's just reality. I'll die on the hill for that argument too. But no, the fact of the matter is sleepovers were just way cooler back in the day when you had Blockbuster and you had those experiences. You just don't have that stuff anymore. It's just not as cool as it used to be. So anyway, the movie that ended up getting seen was like fucking 6 years old or something. Was a movie that, for the record, I love now. It's amazing. It's really well done. But it was called Lair of the White Worm. It's a Hugh Grant movie that's based around like succubuses and demonology. and it's a lot to handle. And it's crazy when you think about Hugh Grant. You think of literally like English, prim, proper, like Pride and Prejudice type shit with the movies that he became known for. But yeah, this is an old, like late 70s, early 80s movie that dealt with, serpents and succubuses and demonology. It was a lot for a 6-year-old to handle. It also had, and for real, anybody who's seen the movie, Kandi, I know you have, it's also got a lot of phallic imagery. And that's just a lot to process at 6 years old. Dude, it broke me down. I was in hysterics. I was freaking out. My mom had to come get me. I was a wreck. She tore into the parents. Like she left destruction in her wake. But the reality of it is I really just think I needed a little bit more time for my brain to mature. And the funny thing is, you really would think that would just be a wrap on horror movies for me, because like anybody who has a really scarring event, it tends to stick with you. Doesn't mean you're not going to get over it. Doesn't mean you can't get over it, but sometimes it's just impactful and you're like, nope.
Yeah.
It just didn't work that way for me. And about a year later, when I was at school, I just don't know if they still do these. I kind of assume that they do, but they used to do like a movie day, kind of late in the school year, kind of as like, hey, job well done for working your ass off. Oh, really? Do you want to take some stuff? All right. Megan's going to break off for a little bit and just lie down for a second. She may pop back in a little bit, but she's just going to grab a little bit of rest. I think we came down with a little bit of like that, jet lag, germ box, like, head cold stuff. And it's been hitting her a little harder than me. So, but yeah, so for movie night, they showed Jaws right in class, which is kind of crazy to think about. Not only is it just kind of crazy to show a movie like that in school, in like elementary school, but the funny thing also about it is, again, I'm just reiterating this just to kind of put it in people's understanding, is like, this is the mid 80s. That movie was still very fresh. There were adults still not going to the beach because of that movie. And so I saw that movie very early on, for movie day. And dude, I was in it to win it with horror movies. So I was into horror movies for that much on. You want me to? You done with it, babe? Or, so I was in it to win it with horror movies from that point on. And then it wasn't that long afterwards. It's like the late 80s, the early 90s, and Sci-Fi Channel had since become a thing. And one of the biggest things about the Sci-Fi Channel is they were the first network to really syndicate the horror movies that had just recently been out in theaters, or stuff like that. So, I was, being the rebel that I was, creeping downstairs at 1 a.m. when my mom had gone to bed and putting the TV on a really low volume. And I'm watching Hellraiser and Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. And not only learning about the female anatomy, but also watching them getting their heads lopped off. So it was fantastic. But Friday the 13th was kind of the series that got the majority of the kind of big push at first on Sci-Fi, which I think is what really locked Jason in as like my guy. Plus, also at that time I was also getting into hockey, so I'm sure that the hockey mask didn't hurt.
My favorite scene in that whole series with Jason is when he goes to New York and he sees that billboard and he's like, oh shit! I lost my mind. That was too funny.
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yep.
Friday the 13th, Part 8.
Yep. But yeah, the story you were telling us about about the slumber party, Lair of the White Worm. I heard you tell that story. I'm like, what movie could possibly make Jay? Are you okay? Is she okay?
Part 8.
No, it wasn't.
Trust me, babe.
No, I'm telling you.
Hold on. You guys are going to witness my victory. She's like, Jason Takes Manhattan was part 7, babe. I'm like,
I believe it was
part 8. Part 7 was the girl with the psychic powers. Jason Takes Manhattan. V111. Part 8.
No, it's not.
Boom. You're going to see.
No, you're wrong.
Nope.
What'd you say?
Me and the girls can wait.
I swear it was part 7.
No worries, babe. It's all good. Take your time. We
Oh, okay.
We-
Stop.
Jay.
Turn my stinky sock.
Jay.
I swear it was part 7.
Yep, Kandi just put it up on the screen.
I thought it was 7 too. What the fuck?
Nope. Part 8.
I'm not the only one. 7.
No, it's all good. No worries. Yeah, no, part 7 had Tina, which was the female with the psychic powers.
Yeah, but anyway, the story you were telling us about the slumber party and Lair of the White Worm, I'm like, what horror movie could possibly make Jay freak out?
Yeah.
Like, right? So I went out and I found a copy of Lair of the White Worm. I'm like, I gotta see what the fuck he was talking about, because I didn't believe you when I heard that story first off. I'm like,
Yeah.
so I put that movie on, and literally, I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Right.
And horror movies don't bother me. Like, I could watch, it's like 10:30 right now. I could watch The Exorcist right now. It wouldn't bother me. But I watched that movie. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And it's the only horror movie other than Freddy vs. Jason that gave me nightmares. Not even kidding.
Yeah. Like, that movie was insane because it's so out there. Because it's like I said, it's also very psychedelic. Those swirly colors, it's really insane, and it's just, like I said, it's just a lot for a kid to handle. You know, I'm not mad in retrospect. I'm not mad at the parents for it. My mom was.
Stranger 6 versus Jason Takes Manhattan. We're gonna really compare them to.
Oh. They're going to go down in flames for that. She just found an article that they're trying to compare Scream 6 with Jason Takes Manhattan.
What?
And I'm like, don't even. There's 30 years between the two movies. So since we're on the topic of horror movies, so here's a fun thing for us to talk about. So besides myself and Megan, have either of you seen Halloween Ends?
Halloween what?
Halloween Ends, the most recent Halloween movie.
I
No,
have.
I haven't.
Okay, no worries. So I will keep this relatively PG because here's and this is what I mean. So Kandi, if you want, at your convenience, at your leisure, because the fact of the matter is, my word is not law. These are simply opinions about the matter. Fuck that movie.
That movie sucked.
So the bottom line is they did Michael incredibly dirty in that movie. There's a lot of back and forth about how the movie should have ended. Based on the research that Megan and I did, there should have been multiple casualties to end that movie, and there weren't, which is fine. But the fact of the matter is, the death could have been this person, the death could have been this person, the death could have been these people. But overall, the way that they designed Michael's character to be portrayed in that movie was really, really insulting. It was really just poorly designed. It was not very well done. I know they started with John Carpenter in the loop, but then he just didn't have anything to do with that movie, and it showed. But one of the parts that I really didn't like is there is so
You can give us spoilers. It doesn't matter. I'm not bothered by it.
Fine. But again, my word's not law. But the fact of the matter is, the way that Michael was killed at the end of the movie and the way that he was finished off, and if you ever see it, you'll see what I mean by finished off. It's just really insulting. But here's the reality of it is I have to do this precursor to the story or the story won't make sense. There's a long-standing debate, let's just say, between Michael versus Jason. Who's better? Who's got better kills? Who's got more kills? So, for the longest time, a very long time, it was Jason by a landslide. All the kills, every kill, no survivors, fuck everybody with a pulse. It's just reality. Now, there's been many less Jason movies in recent years, as in one in like the last 10 years, than Michael movies, where there have been at least 5 in like the last like 10 to 15 years between 2 Rob Zombie movies and the new trilogy. So Michael, to my understanding, has since surpassed Jason in total kills. I know a lot of that definitely had to do with the movie Halloween Kills, because Michael just killed everybody in that movie. He was just children, the gays,
No matter who got in his
entire
way,
fire
yeah.
department. Dude, he took no prisoners in that movie. Everybody was a casualty. So anyway, I do believe Michael has since surpassed Jason in total kills, and I'm cool with that. No worries, no harm, no foul. But the big debate still is like, who's the guy? Who's the original? Well, look, it does not take a rocket science to understand that Michael is the original. And it's not any disrespect to Jason, because everybody and their mother knows that Jason's my guy. But the fucking movie came out 2 years before the first Friday the 13th movie. It's just literal timeline. The first Halloween was 1978. The first Friday the 13th was 1980. And if you really want to get technical, Jason didn't actually even technically kill anybody till the second movie. So
That's true. Actually,
you know,
I think
there's even potentially more time there. So you can't do the whole who's the originator, because the 2 movies didn't come out the same year for you to have that argument. But here's the thing. One of the parts about Halloween Ends that it was really focused around was what was seemed to be coming across as sort of a possession type thing, where this young boy, who was kind of the main focus of the movie, seemed like he was developing Michael Myers' tendencies, which was really weird. Because the thing is, where Jason is a little bit more possession, zombie, paranormal, Michael is is just the human, the one dude.
Yeah.
So they had all, so the fact they're touching on this possession, this kid maybe becoming the new Michael Myers, well, what's he going to do? Run around in a blue suit and a rubber mask, but be murdering people in the name of like Joseph Myers? You know, Joseph Smith? How the fuck's that going to work? Doesn't work. It's just doesn't make any sense. The fact of the matter is, though, that was how they actually rebooted, was with this kind of possession around the character Tommy, who was played by Corey Feldman at the time. Was they based it around this Jason back from the dead possession, and that's what led to those follow-up movies that eventually led to Jason Goes to Hell, and then subsequently Freddy vs. Jason. So if you remember, Jason Goes to Hell ends with Freddy's glove coming up and grabbing Jason's mask and pulling it into the ground.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing that I kind of found just embarrassing about the writing, is I'm like, look, there's always been this debate, but up until that movie, you had Michael protected. The movie came out 2 to 3 years before Jason. You know, they've done more movies, which means more kills. The last movie, he murdered, I think, the entire state of Illinois. So that's a hell of a lot of kills just in one movie. And then you went and literally fucked it all up by writing a movie based around a potential storyline that they did with Michael's own competitor, Jason, that Jason's franchise covered 30 years before you.
Whoa.
How do you call yourself how do you tell me you're an idiot without telling me
You're an idiot. Yeah.
without telling me you're fucking retarded? Like,
Oh my gosh.
like seriously.
That was good. I loved
what
it.
What if this movie was like a precursor to maybe a follow-up where, you know, Michael wakes from the dead or something and goes on an even worse killing rampage?
I've already covered that.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I've already actually put that theory out. So as far as I mean, they could technically. There is a lot of talk about a petition that to have that movie remade completely. I've heard that there is another Michael movie in the works as a potential replacement.
Hey.
But if that doesn't happen, and they do one that continues on, the fan theory that I did put out there is there's nothing they can, and I'm talking about if this is based off of Halloween Ends. There's nothing they can do about bringing back Michael Myers. They did him, like I said, they finished him off in a way that there is no return. But with that whole possession type thing around that kid, there was a love story in that movie as well. And there was, you know, let's just say male-female interaction in that movie. With, in my opinion, the kind of unspoken possibility of a bun in the oven.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy.
So anybody watching or will watch this that has seen that movie, let that rattle around in your brain a little bit about the main character, possessed kid, the love interest that was kind of with him, interested in him, kind of looking out for him as he was going nutty. And then kind of the swept under the rug, did they or didn't they? Or maybe have they created something? Just let that rattle around in your brain. Hey, look, you don't see it my way. That's cool. Like I said, my word's not gospel. But I do think it's a potential possibility. But again, if you're going to make it a Halloween movie, what are you going to name your child Michael Myers? I mean, well, I guess it could work. But now you're just literally squeezing blood from a stone.
That's true.
That is a really cool theory. Wow. Wow.
Patent pending.
Patent pending. Oh, man. All right. So we are beginning to run out of time here.
No problem.
Want you to be able to enjoy your evening and take care of Megan over there. I hope she's doing okay.
Yeah, she's doing good. She's lying down for a little bit, talking to her mom.
Okay.
I wanted to mention something if you can. Didn't mean to cut you. Yeah. They're looking for monsters to be on Kim's script, and they have a meeting, monsters meeting, on the August 27th at 1:00 in the afternoon in Spring Grove, PA. So if you or Megan or anybody you know or anybody out there who's watching wants to be a monster at Kim's script, August 27th at 1:00 is the day. Show up to Spring Grove, PA. Okay.
I'll have to check. I'll have to look into that. I know Kim, and Kim knows me.
Yes, I want to do it. I texted her personally as soon as I saw that. I said, I want to be a monster. And she said, just show up. Come up at 1:00. I said, all right.
What day of the week is
Yeah.
that?
Let me see.
7?
I'll check it right quick. Calendar. August the 27th. That's a Sunday. Yeah.
All right, might be able to swing a little something there.
Yeah.
Because I've got a little bit of, I got a little bit of wiggle room around that time as well. Because Megan's going to be doing I mean, and she might even want to do it with her girlfriends as well. And I'll let
That's
her know
cool.
about it. But she's doing a girls' weekend that weekend, and
Oh, sweet.
but that could be something kind of cool for maybe them to go check out as like a closure to their weekend. That could be kind
To
of
the
cool.
thing
Yeah.
to do. Yeah. That would be perfect.
Yeah.
I know I'm doing it for sure. I'm definitely,
Cool.
that's, yeah, I got to do this. Yeah. It looks like
I mean,
so
if
much fun. And I wanted to do it
there-
years ago and I never did.
If anyone out there
What,
wants
Kandi?
to pay for my plane ticket, I would do it in a flash. That'd be cool.
Yes, we need to get Kandi here. There you go.
Okay, I will come to Baltimore one day, and Lisa is going to let me stay at her place from what I know.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
You can stay as long as you want.
We should all go out and hang out. Anyway, so yes, we are running out of time. I want you to be able to enjoy your evening there, Jay. So for those of our viewers that don't know what the hell have you guys have been doing and not paying attention to all this time, Jay is the part host of an amazing weekly live video show. And I know tomorrow night you do have a show coming up.
Yes.
Why don't we plug that a little bit?
Okay. If you if you insist.
We insist.
So we're every Wednesday night on Facebook and YouTube. It's called the Metal Summit, and it's myself and Angel, kind of running pilot and co-pilot along with Psycho Steve and Bobby Dreyer. So we've got Josie Scott from Saliva joining us this week. So that's going to be a really good one.
Yes.
It's going to be very, very interesting. There's actually going to be a lot to talk about. So, a lot of people are going to know Saliva from Click, Click, Boom from back in the day. They're also going to know Josie in particular from the really successful song that he did with Chad Kroeger from Nickelback called Hero that was featured on the first Spider-Man soundtrack. But Josie's been out of the band for a while now. He has made some sporadic appearances in recent years, but the main Saliva band had been held down and vocals by a guy named Bobby Amaru, who's absolutely fantastic, who I've interviewed and I've seen live and I've spoken to. He does amazing duet videos, by the way, with his daughter. They are dynamite. His daughter is like 13 years old with this amazing voice. Like, it's absolutely insane. My favorite duet that they've done together is Wonderwall by Oasis. But they've done stuff from Fleetwood Mac to Queen to Sum 41. Like, it's very, very cool.
It's amazing.
So for anybody who's familiar with the band Saliva, they too recently went through some hardships in the recent untimely passing of Wayne Swinney, their founding member and guitar player, and at the time, the only original member left in the band.
Gotcha.
So here's the thing. Saliva has a tour coming up with Drowning Pool. They're coming through Baltimore, and I'm planning to go see them. So Josie now has Josie Scott's Saliva. And I was having this conversation with Angel today. And it's, again, it's a judgment-free zone, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow because we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't cover this. And it's the same thing that I'm going to tell Josie when I talk to him. Is I'm like, hey, man, the floor is yours. You can say as much or as little as you want on the matter. But we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't discuss this. What is the situation with what is now Josie Scott Saliva and Saliva? Because while Josie wasn't in the band when Wayne's passing happened, he was a founding member. So now you do kind of have this little bit of Saliva meets Autograph meets Quiet Riot thing kind of going now, where there's no original members at all in these bands. But there's original people. But there's original-ish pieces around. So Quiet Riot doesn't have any original members, but Rudy Sarzo is considered the main bass player of the classic lineup, along with Chuck Wright, who had recently left Quiet Riot and was replaced by Rudy Sarzo. So but then you've got the whole autograph saga, where it's autograph with 0 original members. However, Steve Plunkett, the original singer, and Steve Lynch, the original guitar player, are still alive, both doing music and, from what I hear, doing something together. So there's been a lot of back and forth issue in the autograph camp. So now there is curiosities about Saliva and JS Saliva. So anyway, it's going to be very, very cool to get into that. But it's just going to be great to talk to Josie in general. You know, he's done tons of music outside of Saliva for many years. He's done, I think, some country stuff as well. But it's just going to be really, really fun to get to see him and stuff like that. So yeah, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on the Metal Summit Facebook and YouTube page, 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
And where else can everyone find the Metal Summit? Either on social media or
so we infest social media. We have a TikTok page that has a bunch of videos that I need to get a little bit back to being more on top of in doing the announcements there. But we have an Instagram page, we have a Twitter page, we have Facebook, and we have YouTube. Definitely follow the Instagram, the Facebook, and the YouTube, because Facebook and YouTube is where we go live. So by subscribing and following those pages, you're going to get you're going to get notifications for right when we go live. It's also really important to follow us on the Instagram page, because that's where I do the first round of the announcements. I pretty much run our social media department. Everybody has access. Everybody does posts all throughout at various times. But when it comes to the announcements, 99.9 and 9/10, those are always coming from me, as well as when messages get answered. You know, if you PM the Instagram page or the Facebook page, you know, everybody gets notified of that. But 95% of the time, if you hear back from somebody, you're probably talking to me. And it's just because it kind of fell into my lap that way. But there are definitely plenty of times where I've gotten a message from Steve or Bobby or Angel. They're like, hey, we should look into this. Have you seen this message that we got on the private messenger? And so on and so forth. But most of the time when you hear back from the Metal Summit, you're usually talking to this guy.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely looking forward to that. Tomorrow night, Metal Summit, Josie Scott. What an amazing show.
9 p.m. EST.
Amazing.
For sure.
Anything final from you, Lisa?
Nope, I think everything's good. I wanted to get the script thing out there, and if anybody wanted to be a monster, Saturday, August the 27th is the day at 1 o'clock p.m.
Sunday, not Saturday.
Did I say Saturday?
You did.
Everything happens fun on a Saturday. Anyway, it's Sunday. Sunday fun day with Kim's Crypt.
Sunday.
All right. So again, we want to give a shout out to. Can you plug the band again, Lisa?
The bad.
Yeah.
Bad
so
Animals.
We want to shout out. Yeah, Bad Animals. We want to give a shout out to them and wish them well. Hope they're okay. Again, they were not able to make it, but again, we can always rely on Jay and Megan, our ride or dies, to come and hang out with us. And so we did not have to cancel the show 2 weeks in a row. You guys are the best.
Absolutely.
No problem.
Thank you so much. We appreciate this
absolutely.
so much.
Thank you guys so much. You guys can, thanks so much, fans. Thanks for supporting Mistress Business and just being, totally bitching people and, supporting the people that are keeping, music and horror and all just fun things alive. You can follow me on my various pages. You can find me at my musicians page on Facebook, which is Salem-J. And you can also find me on Instagram. That's where I tend to, tends to be one of the places that's easier to get in contact with me. So you can always come and find me on there. And I also wanted to throw out just a couple of, again, thank yous on behalf of the Salem community to a couple of places in particular. Again, I want to thank John and his hospitality from the Salem Witchboard Museum for all the courtesy that he showed to myself and Megan. We want to thank Black Craft Cult. They were really, really nice to me and Megan. I've been in that store a few times now. That was Megan's first experience with them. She follows them regularly on Instagram and saw all the way that they were building that store and updating it. It's very, very amazing. Really, really crazy in there. And just really sleek and really sexy. They did a very, very good job. So we want to thank the staff at the Blackcraft Colt for just showing us a good time. But I also want to give a personal warm thank you to probably my personal favorite store of Salem, which is called Vamp Fangs. I've been shopping with them for many, many years. I'm a very big fan of what they do. They host the Salem Vampire Ball every year through the Endless Nights Vampire Ball that they do with Father Sebastian. But that store was ridiculously hospitable to me and Megan when we went in there. We were in that store like 4 different times. And, the shopping experience was great. They hooked up Megan with stuff that she really liked. I got myself just a bunch of jewelry, a couple of new books. I'm actually wearing the 2 of the necklaces that I just got from them. And they are absolutely fantastic. So make sure that you're following all of those places on Instagram between the Salem Witchboard Museum, Blackcraft Colt, and the Vamp Fangs. But Vamp Fangs in particular, thank you so much. In particular, Megan and I want to thank Victor, one of the associates of the store, who was just an absolute doll. He was very, very cordial, really, really polite, very nice. And he and I actually exchanged contact information for a possible working relationship later with something that, Megan and I kind of have in mind for the future and stuff like that. Because he's also a professional DJ. So that was very, very cool to find him as well. So we really, really appreciate that as well. So I wanted to thank those places in particular.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So cool.
Awesome. All right.
Very
and again,
cool.
we thank you so much. We thank Megan for joining us. This was a fun impromptu discussion, and I'm all for it. This was awesome.
I love this. This was so cool. Thank you so much, Jay and Megan. And you're welcome back anytime, any show, whether it's Mistress Business, Front Row Promotions, anytime. Thank you so much for coming in today.
I will show up for spooky, creepy conversations anytime.
There
Absolutely.
you go. Oh, we love you.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much.
We're live. We go live
welcome.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. No matter what days we are live. If you want to jump in and say something, you give us the word, and we'll make it happen.
Hey, no worries. If there's something to talk about, I'll reach out about talking about it. Other than that, I prefer to come on as an invitation as opposed to showing up unannounced.
Alrighty, fair enough. We got you. We got you. Whatever you need, we got you.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna turn it back over to Lisa, and she is. I stole a phrase from you, Jay. Sorry, but we're gonna put a bow on it. Okay.
Tie a bow. Bing. Thank you all for coming to our show, whether it's Mistress Business, Front Row Promotions. We appreciate you all coming to listen to all of us talk about spooky stuff, and it was really fun tonight. I had a good time. Thank you so much, Jay and Megan. We love you. And thank you all.
So much for the invite, ladies. Horns up, fangs out.
Welcome.
Absolutely. All right. So
Horns up.
Lisa's offline. Jay, if you wouldn't mind just staying online for one quick second, okay?
Yeah, no sweat.
All right. And thank you all again for coming, and always tune back into Front Row Promotions and Mistress Business. Bye now.